Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
I can't keep running the music. I don't know how to do that. But this is a Hard Hat game. Sherrod Blakely, Jimmy Toscano here. John Zannis out sick, battling maybe the flu. We'll see. I'm not sure exactly, but I know that he is. I heard his voice, and as tough as it is to hear John's voice on a normal day, Sherrod, it was even tougher to hear it tonight. So he's sitting this one out. He did watch the game. I'm sure he has plenty of thoughts. It's me and Sherrod to start. We have Bobby at the game. We have Noah at the game. Hard Hat game, boys.
We had the Celtics at the game.
Hats,
they showed up.
Steel toe boots with a 112-105 win in Cleveland against the current number one seed Cleveland Cavs, a team that's kind of taking the NBA, or at least the Eastern Conference, by storm here the first half of the NBA season leading up to the All-Star break. And the Celtics, they needed a game like this, Sherrod. I think a lot of Celtics fans were tuning into this game with some cautious optimism after the last couple of games and being able to close it out. But again, against teams that they should have beaten. Yeah. And then going in on the road against a Cleveland team. And the Celtics have played very well on the road this year. It's the games at home that they haven't been able to get up for. On the road, they tend to zone in, show up. And that's kind of what we saw right off the bat in this game, Sherrod.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the start of the game where
no one could make at least.
I mean, no one could make shots. I mean, Cleveland and both the Celtics and Cleveland, for that matter. I mean, they missed a lot of easy shots that they should have made. Both teams should have made, but when they weren't missing those shots, they were taking tightly contested shots at both ends of the floor. It really became, a defensive, slugfest early on. The only guy that could get buckets early on for the Celtics was Jaylen Brown, who scored their first 12 points. But this, I mean,
never to be heard from again.
You know what? This is I hate you. This is the kind of game that felt. You're not going to have playoff basketball in January, but this is pretty damn close. When you look at the way these teams battled each other, you look at the fact that both of them are trying to prove something to the other. Cleveland is trying to say, we are ready to take your crown. And the Celtics are like, hold my beer. Hold on a second. And this is the kind of game that you just like to see from them. Lots of guys stepping up, making big plays, both ends of the floor. I know at some point we're going to get into the Derrick White show, but man, he was so good.
I know. Again, if Sherrod's on the show, we're going to.
We're talking about Derrick White.
We know we're talking about Derrick White, especially after a night like he had, a fourth quarter that he had. And the interesting thing about this game, Sherrod, at least the start of this game, was that both these teams felt like maybe they weren't ready for the 7:30 start with the national. Maybe they thought it was an 8 o'clock start. I don't know what it was, but it was ugly at first. I mean, both sides missing open shots, and I think that's why if you were the Celtics, you were still feeling okay about this because you were able to, with that second unit there late in that first quarter, you were able to expand that lead in a quarter that you still weren't hitting shots well. You were not hitting that 3-point shot, and the Cavs were even worse. I think they were 1 for 13 at one point in this game from three, and they're leading the league in 3-point percentage. I think around 40% or just under it. Unlike the Cavs, and again, give the Celtics some credit there, of course, for the way they played defensively, but both teams at the start of this were missing shots early on. But I got to give the Celtics credit. I got to give Tatum some credit too. And I know Jaylen Brown took on the brunt of the scoring in the first quarter, and they needed it because nobody else could hit anything, and that includes Tatum. But he came alive there in that second quarter, and then in that second half too. I mean, you had, whether it was Tatum, whether it was Brown, whether it was Luke, who, I'll tell you what, if Sherrod's on the show, we talk White, and Bobby's going to be on the show later, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit of Luke, but he's earning more and more minutes on this show, not just on the court, but on this show as well, Sherrod. He can't just be the third center punching bag anymore. The way he's contributing, the way he's kind of got that pick and roll down, cutting to the basket, throwing down. We're seeing Luke dunks more and more often. It's become the norm instead of the exception lately. And again, talk about production from the bigs tonight. Porzingis, if you look at the stat sheet, you're not going to see a game where he had it going at all offensively. Talk about people missing shots. He was one of them. And again, that's why it was good to have Kornet doing his thing. But I thought Porzingis was very active out there offensively, but especially defensively, being a present, drawing fouls. I thought he was going to get Strus, kicked out of the game at one point, because Strus was so frustrated with the way Porzingis was quote unquote flopping, if you want to call it that. But just very active and very, the energy. I think you could feel that Celtics energy tonight. And I think that was the main thing I could see when it was comparing the Celtics and the Cavs. Is the Cavs didn't seem to be able to kick it into that extra gear. The shots started to fall a little bit more for them in the second half, and they did go on their runs. And they made it very interesting actually in that fourth quarter at one point. But that's when your guy Derrick White got hot. That's when Tatum found him a couple times. Al getting involved as well, and Celtics were able to stretch that league back out to about 13.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that they were, active and impactful. I mean, pretty much everyone the Celtics put on the floor in this game was able to put their imprint on the game, even if it was for just a 10, 15, 20, 30-second stretch there. Luke Kornet, he played 12 minutes, but the guy had a couple buckets, 3 assists, some rebounds, did a lot of good things in a very short amount of time. Sam Hauser didn't play a ton, but he knocked down a shot, got some rebounds. Pritchard knocked down a few shots as well. And Al, had a double-double in 25, 26 minutes. So they got lots of contributions from that bench in lots of different ways that they were able to put their imprint on the game. And against a team like Cleveland, you don't have to do that. But to me, the biggest thing that the Celtics were able to do was they were able to absolutely win the battle of the boards. They cut to a timeout, and because I think Joe Mazzulla was mic'd up, or someone in the huddle was mic'd up. And, Mazzulla was talking about win the boards and we win the game. And he was right. He was saying that in the fourth quarter, and he was spot on. That is how you win the game if you're the Celtics against a team like Cleveland. Because if you take away their ability to dominate you on a glass, they become extremely beatable. And the Celtics, if you watch this game, there were so many possessions where the Celtics had 2 and 3 and 4 opportunities to get baskets with their offensive, outworking Cleveland essentially on the glass. And over time, that's going to put you in position to win a game like this. And so the Celtics, Cleveland made their runs near the end there and certainly made it mildly interesting, in the fourth quarter. But you never got the sense that the Celtics had lost total control of the game. And that's a really hard thing to do against a team that has played as well as Cleveland has this year. And you're playing on their floor, a game that everyone was really amped up for, fans, players. And for this, again, this was one of the better wins the Celtics have had this year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and the big thing for Boston, they were able to take Mobley out of this game. I mean, he was a guy that he's going to he's an all-star, right?
Yeah,
and
he should be. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wait, is he? Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he should be. They got 3 guys in. They got him,
3 guys.
Garland, and Mitchell.
Yeah, it was Allen was the gun they were trying to push to make it 4, which would have been unlikely. But yeah, but Mobley 3 of 14 tonight. He was the Celtics were able to effectively take him out of this game. Now, speaking of Allen, you're talking about the rebounds. 18 boards for Allen, but that's what he does. Yeah. I mean, that is what he does, right? I mean, that's how he makes his money in this league is just being an absolute force on the glass. And the Celtics, they don't have a guy like that. Porzingis is a presence. Kornet's going to do his thing, but they're not going to have a guy that's going to go out there and give you, 15 plus boards a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that situation is going to happen. But for them to be able to limit the rest of the team and to keep those guys in check and not allow Cleveland to, I guess, bully you around or use their physical force around there. It was the Celtics that were getting the second chance opportunities. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but, the misses at the rim, they were able to grab those boards, second chance points, more opportunities, offensive rebounds late in the fourth quarter there too, to, kind of drain the clock a little bit more. That's the type of play that, when you talk about effort and you talk about, are they bored or, are they soft or are they this? That's what people are talking about when they ask those questions. They want to see that style of play from Boston a little bit more, that second effort energy there. And it goes without saying when they're working the ball around like they were at points tonight, And again, some of those shots just weren't falling, but they were good looks. And you're okay with that. I'm okay with them missing open shots because it's going to find its level at some point, and tonight it did.
Yeah, and that's really what you want. I mean, the Celtics, I mean, when you've won a championship like they have, you aren't as concerned about the actual finishing of plays. You just want to make sure that you're executing to get to the point where you're able to finish plays. Whether shots go down for the Celtics, yes, obviously you want that to be the case, but you want to get to the point where you're executing to that point because you've got the talent that when it matters most, you should be able to make those plays. I mean, Derrick White, again, had a great game. I thought the ball movement overall was really good on the Celtics part. You never really felt as though they had those long stretches where we've seen in the past where the ball seems to stick on one side of the floor and doesn't move. They had 26 assists on 40 made baskets, which is pretty good. And again, they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but again, you can live with not making shots if you're getting the shots you want. It's when you struggle making shots because you're not shooting you're not getting the looks you want. And that just wasn't the case tonight. So this was a good win for the Celtics, a really good win. And to me, the cool thing about it for them was the fact that so many different hands played a role in them getting this win. This wasn't like, Tatum going off for 40 or Jalen giving you 35 and 10. It was just a very workmanlike playoff kind of game. And again, it's hard to simulate what that's like in the regular season because you're usually not playing teams that have that type of talent and have that mindset. And make no mistake about it, Cleveland wanted this one. Not only because of the fact that this is the team that's literally the team that's closest to you in the standings, but Cleveland, you want to continue to build some momentum going into the All-Star break, which is going to be here before you know it. And, in Cleveland, the road doesn't get any easier for them because they play at Detroit tomorrow. And that's, one of the more improved teams in the NBA this year. Playing them on a back-to-back after a game like this, that's going to be a tough one for them. So Cleveland, again, I think this game, this one hurts a little bit because I think there's a part of them that feels that they would have played the way they normally do, they would have won this game. And while the Celtics deserve certainly some of the credit for Cleveland's struggles, Cleveland committed some self-inflicted wounds as well. And at some point, we may get into it tonight, but Darius Garland, this was one of his better games against Boston, and this was not a very good game for him.
It was a good half. I thought he had a good second half.
He much better in the second half. Yeah, but that's the one guy that has consistently struggled at both ends of the floor against Boston. He's the one guy that they consistently look to pick on. And it doesn't matter who. Derrick White, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, literally everyone that is on the floor is trying to get to that matchup and get him squared up against them defensively. And the Celtics, for the most part, made them pay for that. He did a couple of nice things out there. He drew a couple of charges and he did a couple of nice things, but for the most part, once again, they found a way to use his lack of size and strength against Cleveland and cause him some problems.
Yeah, 25 for Garland tonight. And again, a lot of that was in the second half. Mitchell ended up with 31 points and 10 boards.
Yeah, 6 dimes too.
Yeah. I saw the stat in the broadcast. I think it was only his third or fourth double of the year, which I just thought that was kind of interesting. I pictured him to have more of those.
Now with Mobley and Allen around,
right? I mean, he's still an elite. He's an elite scorer. I mean, that dude just finds ways to score. It doesn't matter where he is on the court.
But for whatever reason, whenever he plays the Celtics, he goes into a different Nova. When he plays the Celtics, he's an elite scorer, but he becomes damn near, Michael Jordan at times against the Celtics, where everything he's putting up is going in. He clearly plays some of the best basketball in the NBA against the Celtics. But the thing that has really kind of plagued him throughout his career is he hasn't had a ton of help. And I think the Celtics, they recognize something with this Cleveland team that I think is really important if they see them in the playoffs. And that is you can live with, Mitchell having a big game. You can live with Jared Allen doing his thing on the boards and getting some buckets. But if you're able to keep, Evan Mobley in check, if you're able to keep Darius Garland playing pretty much like the way Darius Garland usually plays, and you're able to neutralize that bench. And this is one of the few games where the Celtics bench against Cleveland's bench, it wasn't even close. I mean, the Celtics won that matchup easily. And so being able to do those things, what they did tonight is the recipe to beat Cleveland if you're the Boston Celtics. And there's clear room for the Celtics to get better, obviously for Cleveland as well. But this really felt, again, like this was a playoff game, and the Celtics did exactly what you're supposed to do in a playoff-type atmosphere, and that's just find a way to win. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be this, broad statement kind of game. Just find a way to win, and that's what they did.
Yeah, you mentioned the bench. This was a great Celtics bench game, and whether it was what they did in the first quarter there, whether it was Pritchard coming in the fourth, and we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit because that was an interesting Joe. Just one of the bigger Joe moves of the night was him taking Brown out and putting Pritchard in and sticking with that. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But if you look at the Celtics bench tonight, Pritchard, Horford, Kornet, Hauser, all in the plus by a lot, double-digit pluses for them, and that includes starters who were in double-digit minuses just because of the way the game was going at certain points. But Celtics bench was able to contribute from start to finish, and Horford, big night for him, 13 and 10, 5 of 12 from the field, and he had 3 threes tonight. Had a couple of nice open looks, courtesy of Tatum, that I can remember for sure off the top of my head. You mentioned Hauser. We mentioned Kornet a little bit. Those guys filling in. Still want to see a little bit more from Hauser, but they didn't need a Hauser stretch, I guess, if you want to call it tonight. But Hauser just getting Hauser in there and getting like regular burn is all I need to see. And Hauser has been turning the corner as of late with some of these shots.
And a lot of good things happen when he's on the floor.
Yeah, Luke hit Hauser with a dime tonight. I mean, just a great look from Luke and hit Hauser in the corner. Perfect pass, right? Like pretty much where he wanted it and just boom, right up there. So another underrated aspect of Luke's game. Luke's getting a lot of love tonight. I'm going to have to cut that out. But then seeing Horford hit a few, which is nice as well.
Yeah. The bench was great. And the thing with Horford, so many of those shots were in rhythm type threes. And that's what you want. I mean, it's important. Al's at that point where he really has to be just make himself available and knock down his opportunities.
100%. Facts, my dog. What about speaking of the bench, I mentioned this already, but what about Pritchard going in there? What about Pritchard getting that call? And I know Brown picked up his 5th, and that's probably maybe why he was originally taken out. But at some point, you play the guy with 5 fouls if you think he's contributing to you in a positive way. Talking about Jaylen Brown, Joe elects to go with Pritchard. And the rest is history. And by the way, Pritchard, a couple of big offensive rebounds, did turn the ball over after one of those offensive rebounds. But the Celtics were able to get it back there. Thoughts on that? Is there anything more to look into that, or is it just Joe going with what he's thinking in the moment there?
I love the fact that Joe just went with what he felt in that moment. I mean, in the perfect world, you would have brought Jaylen back for sure sooner. But Pritchard, I think Pritchard is at that point where he's earned the right to have that opportunity.
Sure.
And I think that for Pritchard, this is a good team for him to get that opportunity against, because there's whenever Pritchard is on the floor and Darius Garland is somewhere on the floor, there's at least one matchup that he can take advantage of as a scorer. There's one matchup that he can create pick and roll action with that is going to be notably to Boston's benefit. And again, Pritchard, like I said, I think he's earned the right to have those opportunities. And Jaylen, after an incredible start, he scored the first 12 points. He only had 4 the rest of the game.
I know.
So
yeah, it was off. He was definitely off.
Yeah, and so for if you're Joe Mazzulla, I think that's a very calculated gamble you're taking, but it's one that makes a lot of sense. Guy gets you a dozen points right out the bat and gets you 4 afterward. And Pritchard, I thought, was more impactful throughout the game in terms of scoring the ball and getting others, set up for scores. So it made sense for Joe to go with Pritchard and to stick with him a little bit longer. But I love the fact that it really came down to Joe making an unconventional decision and sticking with it. So that was cool.
What do you say we hear from Joe himself, Sherrod? Let's see what the head coach of the Boston Celtics had to say after this one here.
Let's see.
Yeah, at the start we had really good ball pressure. I thought they missed some shots. A 15-point quarter isn't normal for them, but I thought we did a good job. Just taking away some of the margins, some of the easy baskets that they were able to create because of the type of players that they have and the offense that they run. So we were able to take those away for some of the game, and I thought our guys defended well.
Shoot.
First quarter, I think you held them to 15. I know you mentioned some missed shots.
Trying to figure this out.
Live ball turnovers and some of the defensive activity. What do you feel like you guys did well there?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of took away some of the easy stuff that they've got. They're a great team. They run a good offense, and we were able to take some of that stuff away again. I think they missed some of that, but I just thought kind of our attention to detail on the game plan was big time by the guys.
Sonny, you throw about 26. You came back because you're chasing. What's the challenge of holding a lead throughout the entire? They never caught you, but they kept chasing. What's that challenge of holding a lead for 3.5 quarters?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just really focus on the process of the margins. I think that's where it leads.
Process.
Slipping and through the margins.
Philly.
And ones we give up a few of those.
Feels like that should be a drinking game. Anytime someone says process,
live ball
drink.
It's just the margins, the things that go into winning. You just have to work to control those throughout the game.
How important were reserves?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, they were great. I mean. It's just Al Payton, Luke, and Sam were tremendous. I miss anybody? No. But just on both ends of the floor, their ability to their ball pressure, their offensive rebounding, their execution. To me, there's examples throughout a season when the team shows itself, and I feel like the team has shown itself in times, and the guys need each other. So it's just something that we got to continue to build off of.
One of the better teams at preventing three-point attempts. Is this something you look at going into this matchup in terms of like, all right, we need to do this?
Bobby.
Because you guys have done it in all the matchups.
We just need to create the best shot possible. I mean, I think we took more 2s than 3s this game. And so it's just about, finding the 2-on-1s and creating the best shot that we possibly can versus the different coverages that, they present.
What does it do for you guys when Derrick has that kind of confidence offensively?
Yeah, everything. When he plays that way, we're a completely different team. So it's important that he keeps that, because of his ability to impact the game on both ends of the floor. And, that's the Derrick that's who he is, the late game shot making, the ability to make plays. That's who he is for us, and we got to continue to fight to make sure he keeps that belief and confidence.
What would you like about the poise in the fourth quarter there where they can cut the floor? Jalen's in foul trouble. Just the ability to.
I thought even with some of the foul trouble, I thought he did a good job in the first half at keeping us, involved with his execution and some of his defense. And, he took on the challenge of Mitchell throughout the game. And then when he kind of went into foul trouble, he just kind of executed really well. I mean, I think, like I talked about, between Derrick and JT's pick and roll combination between KP versus the switch, it was a team game where you look at it and it's an understanding of how we can impact each other positively.
You talked a lot about how important it is to push through when the shots aren't falling. In the first half they weren't, but still you guys are
Noah.
20-point lead. How encouraging is it to see that you guys are able to withstand poor shooting?
Yeah, it's just the margins, right? I mean, it's just making sure you don't get. I mean, they had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half, so the first quarter was pretty good there. But it's just controlling all the other stuff, the live ball turnovers, the free throws, the offensive rebounds, trying to maintain those things throughout, slumps.
Luke's one of the top, plus minus guys going back like the new year.
Luke, question from Bobby.
Of course. Hashtag predictable.
I mean, again, he's just, his physicality is
physicality.
His ability to protect the rim on defense. He had some great possessions on Mobley. And offensively, he just does a great job versus different coverages, screening, getting guys open in his offensive rebounds. I think, he's been elite for us lately. He's got to continue to be that way.
Last two, anything, Gary?
Is this a reminder, not just to you guys, but to the league as well, what you're capable of when you do?
We remind ourselves of it every day, really. I mean, no, it's not. No, I don't look at it that way. At the end of the day, it's about making sure that we stick to the process of getting better. So, we
process
by, how we prepare
Drink
and
again.
how we hold ourselves accountable to the things that we need to do. But not only when it goes well, when it doesn't go well. So, it's more about how we view that.
Joe, you guys won the rebounding battle, even though Allen had 18. It just seemed like there was a lot of second efforts.
18 rebounds.
First efforts.
So it's like, oh shit.
Kristaps.
18 rebound, damn.
Extra gear with tonight. Did you notice that? Just the second efforts, the third efforts. chasing loose balls there, just the little things.
Joe's still thinking about the 18
So I think,
rebounds.
in the
Damn.
first half, we only had 2 offensive rebounds in the second half, and so I thought we did a great job of that in the first half, which kind of get us the lead. But it kept us the mentality of extra possessions and getting there. And so I thought our ability to crash and create extra possessions in the first half is what kind of kept us in the fight, and something that we got to do throughout the entire game.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Yeah, 18 rebounds.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, he's like, damn.
It's like,
18
damn.
rebounds. It's kind of how everyone looks. Whenever you see that number on a box score, that's really the only reaction you can kind of have to that.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's Joe Mazzulla chiming in from Cleveland after the Celtics take care of business here, and I'm gonna change to the lower thirds here. I'm trying to. There's so many little things here, Sherrod, that I gotta.
No, I know.
There's too many of them, man. There's too many of them. Anyways, Celtics. Why do we still have? Here we go. Final Cavs. There's too many of them. Delete the ones that we don't need. There's just too many. Anyways, Joe Mazzulla chiming in from Cleveland after the 112-105 win. Touched on a number of things. Touched on Jalen there. Didn't have anything. Nothing to it. Thought
No one
Jalen
asked him about
executed
Derrick.
well. They
Did I
did.
miss that?
Yeah, somebody did ask him about Derrick, and he talked about how important it was just to make sure Derrick's feeling good and confident and keep it going. But I was actually
going
going
to talking about. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to actually bring that up, Sherrod, because we haven't really mentioned Derrick White yet. And I would say it's pretty safe to say Derrick White's kind of like the X factor of this team. And that's because he's not the number 1 or the number 2. And there, depending on how Porzingis is playing, you might not even say he's the number 3. But there are games where he could be any of those numbers, right? There are games where all of a sudden Derrick White cannot miss. Or there are quarters where like Derrick White cannot miss. And one of those quarters was tonight in the fourth quarter, where he just got hot, and credit to the rest of the team for realizing it, finding him. And when he's in that like confident Derrick White zone, there might not be a better shooter in the NBA, Sherrod.
Yeah. And I thought in this game particularly, there were moments where he wasn't only making shots. I mean, he went into deep shot Derrick mode where he hit this 1-3 that was like, whoa, where did that range come from? And that's when you knew he was feeling good. And then he needed this game as much as the Celtics did. He needed a game, I think, to just really plant the seed that you can be that guy. And you're not going to have any pushback from your teammates when it's your night. In fact, they want you to be more aggressive, be more assertive, particularly when you have matchups that are significantly in your favor. And I thought that the Celtics, by and large, did a really good job of seeking out favorable matchups without seeking out favorable matchups. It's like they would run their offense, and just in the flow of running their offense, there would be a matchup that they were like, okay, we got the matchup we want, let's go. And they would work, and they would exploit that as opposed to matchup hunting, which I think they have done more than their share of historically. But Derrick White was good, man. I mean, this was the all-around Derrick White, give you a little bit of everything. He had a couple assists, couple steals, a block, rebounds, knocked down big shots, hit some threes, and just had an overall high impact, type of performance. And they're going to need that from him. They're going to need him to really find that place in space where he can just be impactful and doesn't have to necessarily carry the weight of the franchise on his back, but has the ability to do that for stretches when necessary.
This is the Derrick White is back show. Jayson Tatum said it, and it's true. This felt like a game for White. And I think we've started to see it over the last few, the confidence kind of building up again. And because there was a stretch where it looked like something was off with him. And he is the type of guy, Sherrod, where it does feel like he can get, what's really funny is you don't get that impression of him off the court. He seems very even keeled, right? Like most of the guys in this team. They could be sitting up at the table after a game, and you won't know if they won or lost, because these guys, their emotions are not really one way or the other after wins or losses. But on the court, it does feel like, when Derrick White's starting to feel it, he gets a little animated out there after some of those big shots go down. He likes looking back at the Celtics bench and, locking eyes with some of his teammates. And he's got he's got a little bit more of a swag about him, right?
Yeah.
He kind of looks, he's kind of got like Like that's bald Derrick White right there. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's like shaved head Derrick White. No one's better than me. I'm a bad man. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like that tonight when I think what did the Cavs cut it to, Sherrod, in this one? I know it was
They
right
got down
around
to at least
4.
4.
Yeah. And then did he hit like, I don't want to say that he scored like 8 straight, but he had like really close to each other. He had like 2 threes and he had another like 2-pointer, and it just got that lead back up to double digits where the Celtics needed it to be and where it was for a lot of this game. That little stretch there in that fourth, right around like less than like halfway through, remaining in the fourth quarter there. That really was like swayed it back into the Celtics direction when it felt like Cleveland was going to possibly, even things up.
Yeah. And just kind of a low key stat to note is that this was the 4th straight game that Derrick has shot at least 50% or better from the field.
That's the stats we need.
You know how many stretches he's had this year when he's done that? Big fat Tatum, 0.
Wow.
None. And so if you're looking for signs that Derrick White is getting back to being the Derrick White that we know, the Derrick White that was such an integral part of the winning a championship, we're starting to see that now. And you can actually lean on the analytics to tell you that. The fact that has shot 50% or better from the field in 4 straight games. And, they're going to need Derrick White to make open shots because, again, Tatum and Brown and all those guys are able to create so much action and attention away from Derrick. He's got to be ready to take advantage of that. And again, I think that Derrick has shown these last few games that he's ready to turn that corner and be that guy that was so important to them winning a championship last year.
Facts, my dog. And before, we got Noah and Bobby at the game. Before they get here, I want to get a couple of the ads done, or at least one of the ads done. So we're going to talk about our great friends at Prize Picks. Well, what is Prize Picks, you say? It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to not 100, but 1,000 times your cash, Sherrod. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. I know a lot of people have Prize Picks going during these basketball games, Sherrod, but it's just a good way to keep it a little bit extra interesting. Not that Celtics fans need an extra reason to watch the Celtics, but maybe there's another game on after and you want to tie the games together. But there's another game coming up, Sherrod. I know you have it circled. I don't know if you're going to fly out there for it, but we got the big game. It's almost here and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game. Here you go, everybody. Where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. And there it is right there. Patrick Mahomes. 0.5 passing yards, guys. I think he can do more than that. And no one's rooting against Mahomes more than I am. Well, I'm sure there are some people.
I think there are quite a few.
Yeah, maybe you are. Yeah. But here's even I could admit that this is an easy one. That more than 0.5 pass yards. All right, so he's got to throw for a yard. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Check out the promo tab to tail any of their super sweet Millie winners, big game lineups. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can win a split of $1 million in promo funds. So download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game, Sherrod.
Yes.
Okay, so Celtics with a 112-105 win. Was this a bigger game for the Celtics or for the Cavs? Or was it equal, or does it not matter?
I think it's equal because I think both teams had
Who's it affect more?
Well, I think it affects Cleveland more because Cleveland, they're trying to basically – they are. They're trying to be the Celtics replacement. And the Celtics just beat you at home, and now you got to go on the road against a scrappy Detroit team tomorrow. You could easily wind up losing that game. And if the Celtics, come back and win their game on Thursday, next thing you know, you're looking at a 3.5 game lead in the East that could potentially get even smaller before we get to the break. So I think Cleveland is certainly, this was a game that they really, I think, felt they needed to win, more so than the Celtics. But Boston, they're doing what they can do to keep a little bit of a cushion between them and New York, who's also playing some good basketball right now as well. So I think Cleveland needed this one a little bit more than Boston because, again, Cleveland is trying to be the best team in the East. And the Celtics are the team that I think is best poised to unseat them. And I don't think the Celtics are necessarily wanting to be the number one seed. They just want to keep getting better because they know what this road looks like to get to the finals. And they know that a big part of them getting there is gradually building up to playing your best basketball so that when you get to the end of the road, get to May or April and all that, you'll be playing great basketball, and it doesn't matter what your seeding is because you can win home or on the road.
I'm taking a look here. I'm trying to get back to – okay, so the Celtics lost to the Cavs 115-111. That was back in December 1st. But then the Celtics beat them a few weeks before that, 121-17. So they get the 2-1 series lead. Just trying to figure out, when I say who's the defect more, are the Cavs – should the Cavs be worried about the Celtics now? If you're the Cavs, you're the 1 seed. You've been kind of rolling through the season. You've now lost twice to Boston. They're the team that you're most likely going to see at some point in the playoffs, assuming these two teams can get past the first couple of rounds and meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. As it stands right now, that's what I think most people would expect to happen. Even if Cleveland does have home court advantage, the Celtics have already proven that they're the best. Arguably, I don't have all the records in front of me, but we know that they're an extremely talented team on the road. And they just went in Cleveland right now and took care of business, I would say, rather handedly. I know it got a little bit dicey there in the fourth, but Celtics were in control of this game from start to finish. And I want to say thanks to our friend John here, who writes, "Let's go, fellas. Huge W. Never let the lead go. Big for momentum going forward. Usually can't listen live because I work early, but tonight it's worth it." We appreciate it, John, and everybody else who's watching us tonight. This was definitely, again, this is a game that Celtics fans are fired up for. Getting a couple texts from some friends. My dad checked in, says the Celtics of old tonight. I feel like a lot of Celtics fans are feeling a lot better about this Celtics team tonight than they were 2 nights ago, 4 nights ago, a week ago. And if you're a Cavs fan, I wonder if there's a little bit of a pause here. Well, wait a second, we're the number 1 seed in the East, but we've lost twice to the defending champions. And this is a team that we know we have to get past. And our bench kind of stunk tonight. And maybe there's some weak links there. And once again, Mobley was kind of out of it. And he's been a guy that, talking about X factors for the Celtics, he's the Cavs X factor, right? I mean, if Mobley's not doing his thing, then, there's just not enough talent on that roster to get past a team like Boston. Yeah. So I wonder if this kind of swayed some momentum, as our friend John said here, back towards the Celtics side of things. You look at the power rankings, you won't find a single power ranking with Boston ahead of Cleveland going into tonight's game. I just wonder, not that power rankings matter, but we've all made them, Sherrod. We're all looking at, what a team looks like today. And I wonder if tonight's game will sway anybody's opinion one way or the other.
Well, the one of the other reasons why this game, I think, should have mattered more to Cleveland than Boston is you have to look at what's on the horizon schedule-wise. Boston, has the 4th easiest strength of schedule going forward from here on out. Cleveland is 11th. So their schedule is a little bit tougher. They're now down 2-1 in a head-to-head series, and that lead that seemed pretty comfortable is slowly but surely tightening up a little bit, and you've got a tougher schedule than the team behind you. It adds up to what could potentially be a second-half collapse on Cleveland's part. Now, they may very well go to Detroit tomorrow and beat the crap out of the Pistons, and all is well again. But would anyone be surprised if they showed up in Detroit and got that ass completely smashed by the Pistons, and then next thing you know, you got a much tighter race in the East.
All of a sudden, the natives are restless in Cleveland.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. They get a little nervous. So this was a big, I think, game for Cleveland to not find a way to win. It was.
I mean, they got to just going through some of the comments here. Andrews checks in. Garland is easy matchup for us. He stinks. That's a little harsh.
Well, here's the weird thing about Garland, though. I have watched him play against a lot of other teams. He does not play anything like that against Boston. Against Boston, that comment about he stinks, absolutely. He stinks when he plays Boston. He consistently plays.
Is that
like
something Boston
crap.
does, or is it the fact that they've? I mean, listen, Boston has an unbelievable defensive backcourt, so that's got to be part of
What?
it.
I would say is part of it, but to be candid with you, Jimmy, I think it is more. It has more to do with the fact that Garland has allowed the Boston Celtics, no matter who's over there, to live rent free in his head. A lot of the stuff that he doesn't do well are the kind of things that, if you've watched him play over an extended period of time, a lot of stuff only happens when he plays against Detroit. I mean, he made just kind of a lazy pass in this game that Porzingis, made Porzingis look like Deion Sanders in his prime, just picked it off, threw it up court. Tatum's got the easy layup. Shooting floaters in the lane, which is one of his better shots. Porzingis doesn't even – there was one possession where he had dribble drive penetration, and Porzingis didn't even move. He just stood there, and Garland short-armed it. And there's so many moments like that. But to your point earlier, though, he was much better in the second half. I think he scored like their first bucket in the third quarter and just kind of really played a much more complete game in the second half. But overall, again, he wasn't good. And he did not play like an all-star. And he's consistently struggled against Boston, no matter who is out there defensively. And it's not like they put one guy on him. I mean, Tatum, Jalen, Drew, whoever is matched up on him, and they switch a lot, and it doesn't matter.
Picking on him a little bit.
Oh, when he's on defense, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It is mouse in the house.
Tatum went into bully mode on him.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jalen has been going in bully mode on most guys this year, but particularly when he sees that he's got Garland on him. And you remember that shot I think it was like near the end of the first quarter, maybe right before the half, where Jalen gets the ball on the elbow and realizes that he's got Garland on him, and everyone just clears out and just lets him go to work, and he shot it over. And actually, I thought he got fouled on that play. But that's a guy that, again, if you're Cleveland, you have to be wondering what can you do to address that, because he's a really good player against 28 other teams in the league. It's just that one team who just so happens to be the one team you've got to get through in order to really have a shot at a championship that he struggles with consistently.
What do you think of Porzingis tonight? I mentioned him a little bit earlier. I didn't think the shot was there tonight. That's not breaking news. Anyone who watched this game saw him miss a good amount of shots, 1 of 6 from 3. You get to see the stat line right here. I mean, everybody was missing threes to start this game for Boston, but 7 boards, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Again, I thought he was active out there in the defensive side of things, but just wanted to get your take on what you saw from him.
Porzingis spoiled the hell out of all of us in January. He was so damn good in January.
I thought it was his best stretch, maybe as a pro.
Yeah, right. And so for him to play the way he did tonight, we're looking at it from the lens of what we've saw throughout all of January, and that was him getting off to these great starts. I think his first quarter scoring in January, I think he was like the 5th leading scorer in the NBA in first quarter points per game. Put up major numbers, got off to very quick starts. And in this game, I think he missed like 7 of his first 8 shots. And he got better as the game progressed, but he didn't have that immediate impact that we've come accustomed to seeing in the month of January. But I give him a lot of credit. I love what he did defensively in this game. I thought this was one of his better games overall defensively, because he was dealing with legitimate bigs who were trying to go at him. Granted, he got that facial from Donovan Mitchell, which was just filthy.
That was
so
unreal.
filthy.
Yeah,
and Donovan kicked the ball out of bounds and got a delayed game. You know what? I might have punted that ball damn 7 rows deep if I dunked on a 7-footer the way he did, because Donovan cocked that bad boy back.
He really did, and he avoided. Porzingis went up for it, and Mitchell was able to avoid the block there and throw that thing down.
Yeah, Porzingis left his feet and realized this was a bad business decision that I just made. And so but you know what? I've already got my money invested in this particular stock, and I know it's a losing stock. It's like me with my Romeo Langford stock. I put it all in and like, oh, this is just not going to pay off. This is not going to end well. But the thing I liked about Porzingis was what he did defensively. I thought consistently he made his presence felt. He had, he was the big man that you absolutely needed. Cleveland was never able to get really comfortable finishing and attacking and going at the Celtics at the basket, and that had a lot to do with Porzingis and his ability to not only contest shots but alter shots and get his hands on a couple of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, how important he is just to have that presence, and again, the Mitchell dunk aside, Mitchell's an unbelievable player and those things are going to happen. But to have Porzingis out there just to affect, to make guys force Cleveland to take more of those outside shots that they weren't hitting, be that presence out there because, Horford's not really that guy anymore. I think we can all say that. Horford's not that interior presence. It's not why the Celtics, not what they ask of him. The Celtics are going to go double big at times, but they're not that interior force. Porzingis isn't, going to be that guy to that extent either, but he is somebody that, he can get up there. He had I remember one specific block he put down tonight. I'm blanking on who it was against, but right at the rim, so, I mean, he's a guy that does not shy away from it. He's not worried, the business decision. I get what you're saying, Sherrod, but it doesn't seem like he thinks about it too much like that.
No, he doesn't.
He puts himself out there. And again, I think a lot of fans might want to see him, maybe take a player or two off, worried about him getting hurt or anything like that again. But I just like the energy that he gives them. He's a guy that rarely are you questioning whether or not he's, showed up to play today. And maybe that's just the spark he has playing this game after the career start that he had. Maybe, it's the guys around him. It's the organization for whatever it is. He's getting up for he's getting up for all the games, but the big ones especially. And I know that the shooting line tonight isn't one that anyone's going to, write home about. But I still think that he had a good effect on this team. And it kind of goes to show that he can help them win in a multitude of ways. When the shot's not falling, he can still affect winning. And that's really what you need with a team that has championship aspirations is guys like on nights where guys don't have it offensively, how else can they help? And that's really how this team won last year too. Because there were nights where not everybody had it, but they won playing defense. They won in transition. They won, moving the ball around, ball movement. They found ways to make it happen, and that's why they had, basically a historic run to the finals there. And so that's why I think this game has a lot of Celtics fans feeling like, this reminded me a little bit of last year, not because of the 3-pointers. Because the 3-pointers weren't really falling tonight. We have the line right here. Celtics shot just 35.5% from 3 tonight. But the way that they found ways to sort of instill their way, and they played their brand. They kind of didn't allow the Cavs to get comfortable at any point, and it just felt like that's a team that looks like the defending champs. If you're talking about this Boston Celtics team. And I think, again, I said it earlier, but this is the kind of game that you kind of wanted to see, to believe, right? Seeing is believing. And I think there's, whether you go all the way back to December, it's been so Jekyll and Hyde with these guys where, okay, can they string together a few good wins here? Can they close out at the end of games, which they did the last couple? And then tonight, can they go into, another arena, a playoff team, not, some team that has no business being in the playoffs, like, whether it's the Pelicans or the Sixers, but a team like Cleveland, who a lot of people have at the top of their, power rankings, can they go in there and say, hey, we're still here. And by the way, don't forget us. And I think they did that tonight.
They did. And the thing about Porzingis is that, we know he has spent most of his career as a guy that you respect because of his 3-point shooting, but he's showing a level of defense that I don't think we really saw, and I don't think most fans appreciate. Al Horford is great at guarding his yard. Like if you put a guy out there and you're trying to get that guy to score over Al Horford, Al is really good. He's really good at making sure that guys who want to score directly on him. Yeah.
Team high plus 19 for our guy, Big Al tonight.
He was great. But Al doesn't have the length and doesn't cover as much ground as Porzingis does. Porzingis has the ability to not only defend his position, but also help out defensively. He's much better at covering ground and being, just his presence deterring teams from looking to score, whereas Al is very good at guarding his man and can help guard yours, but Al is not the kind of deterrent for teams that Porzingis is. And we're seeing more and more of that. And when you combine that with a guy who can stretch the floor the way he can, you become a problem for teams. You become someone on the scouting report that you have to account for at both ends of the floor in ways that you never really thought you would have to for him. He has really changed the narrative, I think, about who he is as a player since he's come to Boston. And as far as Al saving himself for the playoffs, he does have another year. He really does have another year. But I tell you what, though, every now and then Al's got to flash that gear in the regular season. Every now and then he's got to reach into his bag and pull out 2017 Al Horford. Just to remind folks that dude, that was a bad man that could go out and get you a double-double in 25 minutes. I don't know what he did tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to do that from time to time. You don't need it from every night. And again, the way the Celtics are kind of building this thing up towards as we get closer to the playoffs, they're doing it the right way. They're doing it the right way with lots of different guys stepping in. I'm still concerned about their offensive punch at the wing position off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And they've only got a couple of days before the trade deadline comes and goes before they could potentially address that. But if they have to go to battle with the group that they got now and they don't make any changes, they're going to feel pretty good about their chances of coming out on top. And games like this remind everyone as to why they feel that way.
We're going to check in with our friends at Game Time.
This episode is also powered by Game Time, the best place to get tickets to the games, events, and concerts you want to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Game Time is filled with terrific features like all-in pricing, so you know exactly how much you're paying. No surprise fees at checkout. You also get panoramic views from your seats in the app, so you know exactly what you'll be looking at before you buy. Plus a lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Once again, download that Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. What time is it? It's Game Time.
It is Game Time. And if you are thinking about going to check out the Dallas Mavericks on Thursday, no longer the Luka-led Dallas Mavericks, but old friend Kyrie Irving coming back to town. It's still a hot ticket. Anthony Davis, I don't know if he'll be in street clothes or if he'll be in a jersey. He's been banged up. He's not playing tonight, but still plenty of reasons to check out Celtics and Mavericks. Yeah. If not to just heckle the Mavericks for kind of fumbling the whole thing here. Right now, it looks like you can get in for $91, which is pretty nice for a Celtics game. A Thursday night, fun one. And then Sherrod, before we get off Game Time, we gotta check in with the Super Bowl here. Let's see what.
Yeah,
let's see what the Super Bowl.
It's still a little pricey, Jimmy. I was on Game Time yesterday looking at it.
Are you?
Yeah, it's about 5 G's.
It's about 5.
Or
just
actually,
5 Gs.
You can get a ticket for as little as $2,900, which is not bad. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, I'm seeing 3,900 right now.
No, you can get in for $2,900, I think.
Okay.
I think.
But if you do, make sure to check out Game Time if you're thinking about going to that one. Obviously, Game Time is the place to be. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I think I see Bobby poking his head out.
Bobby, thumbs up if you can see us.
Give me a thumbs up, Bobby. He can see us.
He's ready.
Thumbs up if he's ready. Before I get him on, let me change back to, this is going to take me 45 minutes here. No, here we go. Nope, that's not it. That's Jaylen Brown.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to put up a lemon square.
We don't want to talk about him. Or you know what? Well, we don't even have it. Damn, I was gonna say if we had Kornet, but we don't. Let's bring Bobby onto the stage. Give it up for Bobby, everybody. Bobby Manning from Cleveland. Let me see if I can get the. I don't even know. Here we go.
Bobby is
There we go.
definitely dressed for being in Cleveland.
He's definitely just for being in Cleveland, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is frigid.
Did you roll up the hat, or does it come like that? You rolled it up.
Yeah, I rolled it up.
All right, I like that look on you, Bobby. I like that. Bobby, the chat's happy tonight. We have a happy chat. I think there's a lot of happy Celtics fans. Boston goes into Cleveland on the road. They grab a lead early on, and they don't let go of it. Kind of a start to finish type win for them here tonight. What stood out to you in this one, and then we'll get into what some of the guys had to say after the game.
Yeah, I thought they set a good tone in that first quarter. Cavs missed shots, they missed shots, but anytime you give up 15 in a quarter, that's amazing. And I think that defense carried over from what we saw in Philadelphia there, along with the effort. Just a strong effort, even if shots didn't fall, even if they had lapses in this game. It wasn't an intensity issue. And, Porzingis was just saying that, you're going to get up for a game like this against the 1 seed and, one of the top competitors, in the league that you have this year. And, I thought the Cavs brought it too. They kept poking throughout. They kept, grinding their way back. They made it very close late. There were a couple moments, especially late in the fourth, where you're like, ooh, could this swing the other way? And that's what happened last time in this building. Mitchell went crazy down the stretch and just flipped the game. So I was moderately impressed with what we saw from them here today. Again, not a stupendous effort, but I thought Jalen carried them early while the offense was dead. No, I mean, they had some lapses. They let the Cavs back into it at points. The offense wasn't super crisp, even if it might have just been missing shots.
Got a little stagnant there in the third, maybe.
Yeah, and then, White was tough on himself for the couple free throw misses there that started the last rally. So, again, all you need to do in this game was win. And get that extra game in the standings. The guys weren't making a big deal about the 1 seed, just like a couple years ago. So we'll see how that goes. They're probably in position to catch the Cavs if they can go on a run here. And they're on a little bit of a run now. The health's good. Guys are playing well pretty much across the board. Al got going here too, and it feels like he's been off for a little while. So I think that was another win in this one. And you got Derrick after those free throws that I mentioned, making up for it in a big way with a couple of threes late that they probably needed to close this game out. So all in all, great stuff. Even Tatum, who started 3 of 13, led some nice bench stretches that helped extend their lead at times. So, and a great Luke game. You mentioned Luke, right, Jimmy?
We've talked about Luke a few times, but we do want to save the meat of it for you. But we are, I think, getting to the point where we have to talk about Luke more than just laugh about you talking about Luke. I think we're like close to that point. But it was a good Al game tonight too. So Al and Luke combined gave the Celtics what they needed from break. We're going to bring in Noah to get her thoughts off the top of this one. Bobby, John is going to have a conniption if you don't send him any sound. So you do that and we'll get Noah's take on this one.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, Noah.
Pretty good game, no?
I thought it was a great game. Bobby seems a little bit more.
Bobby is in Danny Downer mode about this game. He didn't think it was that. Yeah, he didn't think it was that great.
I'm gonna take Bobby off of it. Actually,
see, I didn't sit with Bobby today. So I wasn't getting his play-by-play throughout the game like I normally do. I thought it was a great win. I mean, to me, the biggest thing, and I asked about it a little, but I didn't really get anything interesting. But they were shooting poorly. They were shooting like 33% the whole first half, and they were up by 20. Like, we have not seen that this year at all.
Yeah.
And obviously the answer is really obvious, right? Like, their defense was good, but they were grabbing offensive rebounds. They just weren't giving up. And we have this big thing with them this year of like, can they win games when their shot's not falling? And tonight they did that against the team that's been the most consistent in the league. So it has to be considered a good win. I called it an ugly win when I was tweeting later, and people got mad at that. And then Tatum called it a nasty win. So I felt pretty vindicated that he used the word nasty. I was getting heat for calling it ugly, but it definitely was.
I like nasty. Yeah, I like
nasty,
nasty.
ugly, whatever it is, it's a good thing. It's, you can have the pretty, you made 11 threes in a row games, and you're going to have those, but they need to be able to figure out ways to win when they're not falling. And tonight they did that. And again, this Cavs team is super impressive. I've watched a lot of them over the last few months, just trying to figure out like why they're winning so many games, and they don't give up. I knew when it was a 20-point game, I knew they were going to come back. And the Celtics never let it, they never overreacted to the run. I think they were able to stay kind of composed, and different guys contributed in different ways.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
listen.
No, I was just going to say, Jimmy, really quick. I mean, this is what I meant when I was talking about this was a very much like a playoff type of game.
Yeah.
When in the playoffs, you don't give a damn whether you shoot 15% from the field. The only question that you want to answer affirmatively is, did we win the game? It doesn't matter how you do it. And I think against a team like Cleveland, the way that they are playing and the way that you're playing, these two teams are on a crash collision to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. And when they meet there, it's not going to, neither team is going to care about how they shoot or, what the analytics say about their defensive rating in the fourth quarter or any of that other stuff. It's about, can we find a way to win? And I thought the Celtics did all those gritty, grimy type things to win. Darius Garland had 25 points, but he made some pretty boneheaded mistakes, bad passes, bad decisions, and was picked on a lot. They were able to really make Mobley a non-factor. And I think that's, there's so many things that the Celtics did in this game. I think that when you look at these two playing in the playoffs, you're going to want to do a lot of the same things you did tonight if you're Boston. You want to limit what Mobley can do. You don't mind Jared Allen going crazy on the boards because, even when he does that, you're still going to have a very good chance of winning. Now, if Mobley goes crazy scoring or rebounding, that's a problem. That's a major, major problem. So this was a good win. And your bench, as we talked about earlier, your bench did a lot of good things. There was a lot of good stuff that came out of this game if you're the Boston Celtics.
And Noah, you mentioned it. Of course the Cavs were going to make some level of a comeback. I mean, first of all, it's the NBA. Second of all, they're not going to continue to shoot at the rate they were shooting. What was it? 1 for 13 to start from 3. And I mean, overall, they still ended up shooting well below, I think, what, you're expected to see from them. But Boston, I think the effort was there for Boston from start to finish. I think naturally, you're going to take a couple plays off. You're going to maybe not work the ball around as much as you maybe should have on the offensive side and try to score the easy way. But they didn't fall into that trap for an extended period of time to the point where they were going to blow it. And against a good Cavs team like this, I mean, I think you got to consider this one of their best wins. I care more about this win than I do the comeback win against Philly. Because
I still like the comeback win.
Of course. I mean, it's always great to come back, but
yeah,
to me, against an opponent like Cleveland, who is a playoff team, a legitimate team that you were able to go up ahead on to start this game and keep that lead, that says more about this team to me. And I think that matters a lot more than playing 3 quarters of shit basketball, pardon my French, and then deciding to, turn on the Jets and striking, lightning striking and hitting every single shot that you take. That's great that you can do that. I don't know if you can rely on that because when the playoffs come around, the opponents get a lot better. The defense tightens up and you're not going to shoot, 10 for 10 from 3 practically, it basically felt like, and make a comeback of that size.
Yeah, the 76ers, I rewatched that. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say, I'm not unimpressed by the win here. To me, it's about, all right, what's this going to look like later if these two teams match up here? And it was interesting, through 3 games, you didn't get to pull a ton from this. The first game, the Cavs were missing all their forwards. The second game, Celtics were missing Brown and White in that game that they lost. And then in this one, this is probably about as close to what I think it would look like. Ugly.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Sherrod. You take a win because that's what it's going to be like come playoff time. And that's what that series was last year. They weren't the prettiest games that these two teams played here. But I still wonder, as marginal as they seem, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, those are the 2 biggest perimeter defenders that they were missing here in this one. And I do think those guys matter. Not to discount the Celtics win because those guys were out. But again, what is this going to look like come playoff time? I think tonight's a pretty good indicator of this is going to be really, really tough, but you're probably going to beat this team. And the biggest thing is you can get threes off against them, Jimmy. I know Matt Moore was tweeting that out during the game, that this Cavs team stops everybody from shooting threes except the Celtics. And the Celtics have been able to get off threes pretty comfortable against them for some reason or another. Maybe the mismatches that they exploit. So the matchup looks pretty good for Boston. Not that it's going to be easy. And, depending on health on either side, it could swing it. But I think at full health, what you could glean from what we saw here tonight is that the Celtics have a slight edge on this team.
I was going to just add, I think the two other things that were encouraging to me in a weird way. One, Pritchard thought he provided a really good spark, hit some timely shots. And then I actually really liked and I didn't ask Joe about this because I already played the whole interaction in my head. I knew how it was going to go. But Jaylen Brown didn't close this game. And yeah, he had 5 fouls, but he also could have come back in with 2 minutes to go. Once you have 5 fouls, at that point it doesn't matter.
That was
anymore.
Interesting.
And we saw Al Horford didn't play the whole second half versus Philadelphia, and Al Horford was just instrumental in this game. So I like the fact that Joe Mazzulla, is willing to bench different players if the situation calls for it. And I don't know if necessarily tonight was like he benched Jaylen, but Jaylen played 28 minutes and didn't close. And ultimately, I think that there's a certain element of trust that you have to have in yourself and that the team has to have in you, and a certain level of connectivity and continuity. And he had all these, the fact that Al didn't play in the second half last game, and then tonight he goes out and he's one of the really important players with the highest plus minus of anybody in the team.
Yeah.
That's a great sign to me. I hate the idea that you have to close with the same 5 guys every single night because those are your starters and they make all the money, and that's the way it has to go. And Pritchard had it tonight. I thought that he had good energy. He'll bench Porzingis. He'll bench whoever he needs to. And so I just like that piece of this game as well.
Do you think Brown's okay with it?
Good development.
I don't know.
He did not talk post game. He did decline to talk.
Okay.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about Jaylen, though. I think he's okay with it, but I whenever something like this happens where there's a stretch where he doesn't play, I wonder, is there something going on that we don't know about? Is he dealing with some type of physical ailment that he's playing through, and they just felt in that moment, you know what? Let's let Pritchard, carry us to the finish line here. Give your body a little bit of a break. Because Jaylen has been dealing with some type of ailment, seemed like damn near all season long. And most of the time he doesn't say anything about it. And the fact that he would not talk to you all after the game, it makes me wonder. My first thought isn't that he's pissed that he didn't play down a stretch. My first thought is maybe he will be asked, what happened there, and he'd either have to lie to you and say that he's okay and that was just what happened, or he might confess and say, you know what, I've been dealing with X injury or X soreness or something like that. I don't know. But the bottom line with the Celtics is that it's a luxury to be able to have your all-star sit in a critical stretch against the best team record-wise in the Eastern Conference and not miss a beat. There are very few, if any, teams that can have that happen. And the Celtics are one of them that they're built for that.
Yeah, someone said he didn't want to get fined too in the chat there. I think he was really mad at the refs for much of this game. So that might have had something to do with it too. It got teed up at one point. So it was a frustrating night for him.
The plan was probably to put him back in the game, and he was a big part of why they were able to develop a lead in the first quarter when nobody could hit except for him. I guess my point was more he was subbed out. He was probably going to come back in with 5 minutes to go, but the group was just working, and Joe just kind of went with it. And I just like the fact that you can go with what's working in that moment. And obviously, Derrick was the story in the fourth. I'm sure you guys have talked about that already, but it's good that it's different people all the time. I know everybody loves when it's Tatum and Brown closing, but for this team to be at their best, I think you need to see Pritchard grab the 2 offensive rebounds, Porzingis with the big defensive stops. You just need everybody to be a part of it. And this road trip has shown a lot of that. I feel like this has been a really good team road trip, not just the stars.
Mm-hmm. I just asked this question to Sherrod. Was this a bigger game for Boston or for Cleveland, or who's affected by the result more, or does it not matter? I'll start with you, Noah.
Cleveland, for sure. Cleveland. I think Kenny Atkinson pregame was as candid as I've seen a coach about a big game. Every coach says it's one of 82. He said, no, we want to win this game. We've only played a couple of games that are against contenders. We lost to Houston twice. He was kind of rattling off. I didn't realize they lost to so many good teams, but apparently for them, this has been something that they want to start racking together kind of these wins against these really good teams. And so he talked about it. This city was buzzing. Bobby and I were walking around Cleveland before the game, and it's
Cleveland was buzzing?
Yes.
Was it like a light bulb was about to go out or something? What do you mean?
I'm a Cleveland fan, actually, but I think there was a playoff feel to this game beforehand. It reminded me of being here in the playoffs. It didn't feel like just a regular season game. And I think for Boston, like I don't know.
I'm
they
ready
won the
for
championship.
Miami
This
on
group
Monday,
doesn't
baby.
have- Yeah, I'm excited for that too. But definitely a bigger game for Cleveland.
Bobby, what's your answer?
Yeah, Cleveland needs these because even if they finish one, how many teams over the years, Jimmy, have we seen who were so great during the year, had their foot on the pedal all year to maximize the regular season, and then come playoff time, there's a team that's better than them that didn't take the regular season as seriously. So that feels inevitable here. I'm not taking them lightly because I have loved this Cavs team for years now. And last year, I think they would have been a much more menacing threat with Mitchell available and Allen available. And Joe reiterated that pregame, when I was asking about them, and he stressed that a couple of times that would have been a different team if they were healthy. And, there were still things about this game that hurt you. I thought Allen for stretches dominated Porzingis. Mitchell, when he gets rolling in transition, there's not much stopping him except the ball bouncing out of the net. And then Garland, who looked a little shaken up after that collision early. When he's been rolling this year, he's been a big second threat too, who, on some nights could probably outplay Jaylen. So I'll ask you this, Jimmy. This series right now obviously would start and end in Cleveland. Does that matter?
No, I mentioned it earlier with Sherrod. The Celtics going into Cleveland, they're arguably the best team on the road this season. They've shown that they can win there. They've shown that they can win in a lot of hostile environments. I actually think they play better on the road.
They do.
Maybe.
More focus, less distractions. They kind of just can just get into the zone and they just go out there, do their thing. This is a team and led by Tatum and Brown. They thrive off of negativity. They thrive off of doubters. They want to prove people wrong. They want to shut people up. They get more fired up for people doubting them than I think they do for the people that support them. And that's not really a knock on them. People get motivated for all different reasons. But I think there's something to be said about these guys going into enemy territory, embracing that, banding together, and coming out of there with the W. So I don't think if you're the Celtics, you're worried about going anywhere, whether it's game 1, game 3, game 5, or game 7. Whatever road game it is, it's another game for them. And they've proven that. And they've proven that last year. It's the same team coming back this year, and I think they've proven that multiple times over already this year. So, no, I don't think it matters. You guys want to listen to Tatum?
He did talk about that toward the end.
Oh, perfect.
Let's hear what Tatum got to say.
Like tonight, all the first efforts, second efforts, third efforts were there. You guys played like a full game. What's that like? It seemed like you guys were locked in with obviously with the competition out there.
Yeah, tonight was a big win, especially because we didn't shoot the ball as well as we would have liked. And the last game of a road trip is always tough. Guys is tired, guys are ready to go home. But, we won the first two and wanted to close off the road trip with a win. And we did that. And it was a nasty one. But we made winning plays. We were physical the whole time. We rebounded, we defended. And we found a way.
Did ask Bobby and Noah, is this a sleeper or is this worth watching a little bit?
Yeah.
They get to the home court
had an amazing
question.
start to the season. They reinvented themselves a little bit, the way they play. Well coached, and those guys, they play fast, they move the ball, they shoot threes. So we just had to be locked in from the jump.
How important is it going to be for you guys to catch them and get that one seed like you did last year?
You want to be the best team, right? You want to have the best record. But it's not the end all be all for sure.
Derrick White had a huge stretch there in the fourth quarter, 7 straight points for you guys. Like, what does it do for you when he's playing with that level of confidence, and it seems to really kind of inspire everybody on the bench too?
It was big. We needed that from him. He really got it going in the fourth, just being aggressive. And he's an integral part of our team. And when he's hitting shots and being aggressive, we're just that much harder to guard.
When Mitchell's starting to hit shots and you kind of feel them, the momentum shifting, what's that like to try to grab it from him and not with maybe scoring, but like rebound, a turnover, just the little things?
Yeah, it's all about making sure we don't turn the ball over, get back on defense, limit them to one shot, try not to give up any more and ones and things like that. It's the NBA. They're going to go on a run. got the best home record. So expect that to happen, and just be ready to answer the call.
Was this any kind of statement?
Statement win? No. Just another day of work.
Well, how are you seeing the floor right now? 2 straight games before coming into tonight with double-digit assists, and then tonight as well. A strong assist game.
Yeah, just out there making plays. You know, these guys trust me to have the ball in my hand, and just through reps and repetition and through seeing all types of defenses, you know, blitzing a double team or hitting on ISOs, they trust me to make the right play. And, you know, it just opens the game up. Right? I hitting guys, and even if I don't get the assist, the hockey assist, and you know we start spraying it out and hitting threes and getting layups, you know, then the defense got to make a decision. But just don't get bored with making the right play over and over again.
So what's Thursday like for you? Obviously, you've seen a lot of teammates come and go over the years, trades and all that. Like, what is that day like? You know, just kind of following everything that's going on and just kind of, you know, potential changes that could happen.
You know, it's a weird day for sure. It's a lot of, you know, just uncertainty around the league. This really shows the business of basketball. And, you know, expect the unexpected. You know, it's all you can do.
Play the Mavs that night, the new look Mavs. Any idea what AD and Kyrie are going to look like together?
I don't know. It's going to be probably first for everybody to see. Obviously, you know what Kyrie can do and what AD can do, and 2 high IQ basketball players. I'm saying that they'll figure it out in no time whenever, you know, they do play together.
Thanks, Jayson.
Right there. Wah, wah. All right. Whoops. I don't want that again. All right. Hopefully you guys snap out of it. Wake up, everybody. We're back. Sherrod.
I was in a trance. I was in a trance there. They don't have me.
That was low key Tatum after a you know, a Celtics win. You know, and then that's about as excited as you'll see Tatum, I would say, for the most part. What stood out to you in that interview, Bobby? There was one thing that you said you were specifically
The 1 seed thing. I'm interested in that because not to do the 2023 thing all over again, but remember that year it was like, but that year was a little different because they said we're going for the 1 seed, and then they got killed in that game, get down the stretch, and then they were like the 1 seed doesn't matter. So we didn't see the flip this year that happened that year, so it is a little different, but they're not putting in an importance on it, and that doesn't mean they won't get it. That doesn't mean that they can't get it. But I'd be going for it. You're close enough. You know, 4.5 games. Why not make that a goal?
Yeah.
Okay, but why?
Get an easy path again. The thing was, everyone said, easiest path ever.
If it's about the path,
the 1
sure.
seed.
I mean,
yeah.
So it's what, to try to avoid the Knicks, basically?
Yeah. So you'd have Cavs Knicks round 2 instead of Celtics Knicks,
And
which I do want Celtics Knicks.
And who's that 4 seed looking like?
Bucks, probably.
Bucks. Okay.
So that's you in that second round.
Bucks, Pacers. Magic can't make a run.
Magic are really struggling right now, and their fans are starting to freak out.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in playing mode.
We have some other last in offense.
What's that?
Yeah, KP's always worth listening to.
Well, before we do,
wow, Orlando's 29th in offense, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you think? I mean, we just heard from Tatum, but what did you guys think of Tatum's performance tonight? Obviously, got off to a rocky start shooting, but I thought, you know, overall, you know, he was able to pretty much do what Tatum does, you know, give the game what it needs when it needs it. So he gets kind of hot in that second quarter. And in that fourth quarter, I thought he just made some really good passes and he was feeding Derrick White at points. I think it was the second quarter. Yeah, it was the end of the second quarter. He had that unbelievable pass to Al Horford, right at towards the end of that second quarter there. You know, Noah was just a classic Tatum performance tonight. I mean, not point totals. Again, we're gonna play the Brownie Award in a little bit because it's one of those games where everybody kind of contributed. So it'll be interesting to see everyone's answers. But you know, what do you think of Tatum's performance though?
Yeah, I thought it was one of those games where actually, like, when I looked at the box score for the first time, I was surprised that it didn't reflect a whole lot, because I did feel like he was kind of dominating the game with his passing, and he just looked so comfortable getting blitzed, and just watching other stars. It's one of the areas where I feel like he has just a big advantage over a lot of the other great scorers in this league, is that he just welcomes it and he makes the right pass, and he doesn't seem to get agitated. He doesn't get sped up. It's really one of the places where you can really see his growth over the last few seasons. And his shot obviously was there. Third quarter was the quarter that both him and Porzingis finally got some rhythm. They each went for 11 in that period, and that was huge because they actually extended their lead from 10 at the half to 12 going into the fourth, and it didn't feel like they were extending it because the Cavs were kind of building a lot of momentum, and so those two guys being able to find some rhythm in a game where they really didn't have it was super important. But it was one of those games where, like, Jalen was the guy in the first quarter, Porzingis and Tatum got some rhythm in the third, Derrick was in the fourth, and so I felt like Tatum had a good control over this game. He came up with a really good steal at the end of the game. It was kind of weird. I almost feel like he got a little lucky, like or he just was saw it so in advance that it really wasn't luck at all. But that was huge because that kind of sealed the deal.
Forced a lot of turnovers tonight. Yeah, like live ball ones that got them going on the break. And that's what we've looked for, Jimmy, too, from their defensive intensity. Can you play through the bad shooting? And that's what they did tonight. I don't think they lapsed much defensively at all through the shooting slump that they had to start the game, certainly, and that they went through at certain parts of the game. So that's a step two. And again, it's easier to do it in a game like this. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of big games coming up, so that works in their favor. So it does feel like they could go on a little bit of a run right now, and obviously full health too. It did bum me out a little bit, Noah, seeing Sam getting the huge ice pack on his back in the locker room, but even he's starting to get rolling here.
Yeah, I think that ice is here to stay. Like, a lot of guys had ice all over the place,
I know, it's just he can't shake it. Only 12 minutes tonight too.
Luke hit him for a big shot.
So do you guys want a Luke story?
Well, let's tease that. Let's listen to Porzingis here first. Is this a long one? I don't want to do 5 minutes of another freaking. Let's just find out.
Chicken wings.
He's smiling. There you go.
What stands out about this matchup? Obviously, you guys had some battles with them this year.
That's a 40-ounce Gatorade bottle, by the way.
Yeah, they're number one. We're number two, right? Yeah. So, in the East. No, they had a hot start to the season. Some people, I think, thought it was a little bit lucky, but no, they're the real deal, and they're a really good team. And tonight was a good challenge for us.
There have been a lot of games this season where you guys have struggled to shoot well, and then that's hurt the defense. But it felt like tonight, even though you guys weren't shooting a high percentage, you were still able to build a lead. What do you think was kind of the key to that?
Well, their defense was good. They were shooting even lower percentage than us, I think. So, especially early on. We had really good looks. We just weren't making them. And then that game was not, a super efficient game because of the defense on both sides. We did just enough to get the win.
How did you not let that affect your defense and the intensity on that end?
At these kind of games, it's almost like a playoff atmosphere, right? So, of course, like you
not just me,
doesn't give you the same boost of energy if you hit a shot. Then if you miss a shot, then when you make a shot. But we had to, it was a battle on both ends, and their defense was there, and we had to bring ours, and it was a battle. It was a physical battle, and as I said, we had just enough, to edge them.
Is this a reminder of what you guys are capable of?
I think we know we're capable of this. I think we know, that on any night we can beat anybody, but also like if we don't bring our game that we need, then we can lose also, or we can have teams hang around and maybe steal one from us. So, of course, for us it's easier to show up to these kind of games and play hard and all this, but we're working on having that intensity every night, and sometimes just running through teams and not letting them hang around.
Can you see the confidence level of Derrick in a stretch like that fourth quarter, and what does it do for you guys when it's out there?
Yeah, I think he's one of the most clutch players on our team. Honestly, I feel like he always hits big shots. Not tonight, but usually he has some deep corner ones, and he's just he's a rhythm player, and once he once he gets in that kind of rhythm and he starts hitting those like pocket threes and making plays and this, like he's very, very special. And tonight again was a good reminder and good reminder of what he's capable of.
The other different games where you've been lackadaisical, not you, the team, like in Philly, and that great first half. It seemed like tonight there was second, third efforts. Like you guys didn't play necessarily well at all times, but played hard.
Yeah.
What's that? How do you kind of put that together? I mean, it just seemed like the effort was there the whole time.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's, to not like fool ourselves. Like it's honestly just a bigger game, and we believe that we have tools necessary to win these kind of games. It's a battle. It's a battle to try to bring it every night. And
he did
against,
earn with me tonight a couple of times.
Level teams, and they're on some random night. It's a long season, so it's normal. We're not at this maybe intensity every night, but bigger games we've showed up and I think we looked pretty good today. Even though, as you said, we didn't have the best rhythm and the best shot making today, we still look pretty good.
You said a couple times recently that you think the good play is coming. You think you guys are close. 4 straight wins now for the first time since November. Where do you think you are in that process of kind of getting where you want to be?
Yeah, I think it's now it's a tough stretch, honestly. I'm very happy that we have 4 wins in a row now because it's a tough stretch. Right before the All-Star break, everybody's kind of, not us, I'm saying around the league, this, it's always kind of like, okay, let's get to the, but it's important for us to finish strong, go into the All-Star break, get some rest, and then have that really good home stretch of the regular season to peak at the right moment. So I like where we're headed. We just need to finish strong this small, 5 games left.
Dallas is next. What was your reaction to the trade, and then how does that change that team?
Of course, just like everybody else, absolutely mind blown, unexpected. I didn't even have my phone, so I found out on the street. So for me, it was even weirder. So, but yeah, I guess like people have said, nobody's the last person you expect to get traded is Luka Doncic, So for him to get traded, it's a big deal, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But
Jalen's mind
it's
wasn't
definitely shocking news for everybody.
So you talked to him the other day, Noah. He didn't have his phone, and he found out from someone on the street. It was 12:30.
This question has now been asked multiple times as a last question, so we have not been able to follow up. He was walking around the streets of Philadelphia. His phone was broken. Somebody told him about the trade. He thought he got traded.
I was about to follow up, and they said
no. It requires a follow up. Eventually, we need to start with that.
Wait, he was walking around the streets of Philadelphia
that
with a
story broke
at
broken 12:15, didn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a 12:12. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said someone on the streets told him that Luka got traded because his phone was broken.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you all picked up on that. He was out and about in the streets when the news broke.
Meanwhile, I asked.
Yeah,
Jalen was asleep. Horford was asleep. We were getting
asleep. Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen was asleep too. First thing he said, he was like, "I woke up this morning." Horford had his brother break it to him. How do you have your that's so old fashioned,
And Kristaps was traipsing the streets of Philly at 1 a.m.
Maybe it was the next morning he didn't have his phone, and that's when he found out. Maybe who knows?
Oh, okay.
Right? We don't know for sure.
What happened to his phone? I was like, I need follow-ups here. I couldn't believe we got to the same point of the story
You're
that
right,
we got
Jimmy.
to last time.
He might have woken up without his phone and then went out to get coffee or something, and someone told him. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, when
you
you're
didn't say what time
Porzingis,
it was.
Porzingis, you don't need a phone, man. You just kind of figure it out, right?
He said his phone was broken originally.
Right. Yeah, we've all been there.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You want the Luke nugget, Jimmy?
Not really, but let's get it.
So he was out there, and I
he was out. He was out.
Yeah,
when the trade went down.
Start from the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
He was with the Celtics in New Orleans for the first game of the trip. Flew out to California after the game on the off day, I think drove an hour or two to his sister's wedding. Nicole is a good friend of the show here. Tore up the dance floor and then jumped on an 11 p.m. Flight from California to Philly to rejoin the Celtics. So just, took JetBlue or something. I don't know what it was, but landed in the morning, got ready for the game, and he was out there for that 28-10 run in the fourth quarter against Philly that helped swing that game. And since New Year's, he's top 20 in plus minus in the NBA, leading the Celtics at about plus 110.
Bobby exclusive.
Wow, that's a weekend with Luke, right? What were you like following him around doing like a running diaries? How'd you know all this?
I saw the videos on
yeah, I was gonna say I know. Yeah,
dance floor.
Yeah, you've got the whole family on Instagram, right? Like you've got the whole thing. Yeah. Well, hey, good on Luke for being able to do all that. I'm glad that the Celtics allowed him to go.
He's been awesome.
Experience his sister's wedding. That's nice of them to do, and good that he wasn't hungover for the game, is what you're trying to say. He didn't get too crazy
or jet lagged. Yeah,
or jet lagged. Good. What do you think of Luke tonight?
He was ready to roll. He's great, man. I mean, there was one play. Like, it just annoys me because he'll drop a rebound or something, or he'll do something that looks goofy, and everyone will be freaking out. But he never gets credit for like setting a screen on the wing, diving.
Don't say never. Don't say never. He gets credit sometimes.
And drawing like 3 defenders in and freeing up a guy for a wide open 3. Like, he does stuff like that all the time. And obviously you're seeing more stats from him and the plus minus and whatever else now. But you got something to say, Jimmy?
I don't want to be on Luke Cam. Damn it. I put you on it.
Yeah. Go ahead. He's run away with the third center job here, and as John mentioned after the last game, moved up to second center in that one. So he just keeps getting better and better. He just keeps playing better and better. And we're in year 5 of the Luke experience, Jimmy. I've said this, and every year,
wow,
just gets
time
a little
flies.
bit better. This is great watching him night in, night out. And don't you agree, Jimmy? When he comes in now, you're like, man, something good's gonna happen.
I don't know if I can say that, but I do appreciate your positivity towards Luke. No, listen, Bobby, here's the problem. Here's what, if John was here, he would say this too. Nobody doesn't like Luke. You just put him on this pedestal that forces us to bring it all back down to earth. Like, that's the issue here, is that you make Luke Anthony Davis half the time. So
I don't think that's true.
Bobby has been doing that for 5 years.
Okay, maybe I don't know what he used to do, but I do think that not just on this show, but in life, Luke's mistakes are so loud to people. He misses a rebound and it's like, oh my God, get this terrible, awful basketball player off my screen and trade him for a bag of chips. And the same thing could happen to Al or Porzingis and people wouldn't even think twice about it. It's the same way I feel about Jaylen Brown turnovers. They're just loud to people. Jaylen loses the ball. I hate this. I'm not doing this.
Come on. You're on Luke Cam.
Come on. Bring you guys back. Come on. I felt like I was put on a stage.
You want a Luke Cam?
You are. Not everyone can handle Luke Cam. That's okay. You'll get there. All right. Finish your thought.
But I do think there's like, I encourage people to push through when they feel like,
how did Amit make this?
I don't know.
What is this? I've never seen this before.
Yeah, well, because it only comes out for the Luke segment.
It was well deserved today.
Try to push through next time you're feeling animosity towards Luke because he makes the same mistake that everybody else makes, but he might look a little bit less coordinated when he makes it because he makes a lot of good things happen.
No,
sure, and I'll have you guys know,
center, Jimmy. He's your third center, and they're mad he's not like scoring 20 and grabbing 15 rebounds. Like, I don't know what people expect from him.
No, listen. Me and Sherrod have already given Luke his flowers on this show before you guys came on. I brought him up from the beginning. We talked about him after the last game. And even Zannis is coming around on the fact that Luke, be careful, Bobby, because your other crush, Al Horford, might be taking a back seat to Luke soon at the way these things are starting to go. And
Al
Al had a great game tonight, but as of late, Luke has been probably a more dependable and a more consistent player than Horford has been for the Celtics team. And again, that's not really a shot. It's not meant to be a shot at Al, but it's meant to say that Kornet is becoming a player that, yeah, I mean, the pick and roll that when he's rolling to the hoop right now and he's catching it in motion and throwing down dunks, like that's something that we wouldn't have seen a few years ago. He feels a lot more confident out there. He's a heady player. Again, he had I thought he made a perfect pass to Hauser tonight. Gave it to him right exactly where Hauser wanted it to get the quick shot up. Hauser's only points of the game.
He's a great passer.
Yeah.
He just gets the ball moving.
I think Luke's doing a lot of great things for the Celtics team right now. I think the problem is, and I already said it, is we sometimes have to just bring you back down to earth when it comes to Luke. And that's too bad because I agree with both of you.
Rising.
I agree with both. There you go.
To be fair, though, Bobby called Luke when he was on a two-way. Like you started liking his game at that point. So how could you? How could you not be running? Right. So it's like he's running. He was so premature on this take. Like I got to give him his flowers here because nobody would have thought that at this point Luke would be as impactful as he's been. And so I almost feel like it's one of those things where you just can't help yourself. But it's like it's kind of fair.
Who's a bigger story this week, Luke or Luka?
It's like
okay. So I wish I wasn't defending you.
In your world, Bobby, that's an easy one. But
never mind.
Yeah, it's Luka Kornet on this team. Is really who it might as well be when it comes to Bobby. But no, I understand your point that Bobby was early on the Luke stuff, but he's also he was also delusional on the Luke stuff too at the time. And it
if Jaden Springer wins Defensive Player of the Year, I wouldn't have anything else to my personality except for that. You know what I mean?
Okay, but if Pritchard wins MVP, if Pritchard wins,
or Pritchard was an All-Star,
yeah, if Pritchard's an All-Star in 4 years, are you going to take credit for that?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, then there you go. Then that explains how you guys.
So that's kind of what we're seeing here right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Then Wemby. I think Wemby's going to be an MVP someday too.
No, that's
you're a Wemby guy.
Yeah, I think I'm a Wemby guy.
Jimmy was first on Wemby.
Yeah, I was first. Well, we're talking about all these guys. Why don't we play? It's time for the brownie. Oh, Bobby doesn't want to play the brownie. He's out of here. That's fine. No, I don't know why he left. Maybe he got nervous. He's not sure who he wants to give it to yet. We'll just have him. We'll assume that he's going to give it to Luke. But this was one of those games where, again, it didn't feel like a certain player stood out, but at certain parts of the game, players did step up and did sort of, play their role either above and beyond or exactly what they needed to do when they need to do it. So, Sherrod, you've been rolling with me all game. I'll start with you. Who you giving your brownie award to tonight? Oh, you're muted? I think you might be muted.
Yep. The brownie for me tonight, I'm going to go with Al Horford.
Okay.
Mr. Double Double.
Mr. Double Double. Love that.
We got to see 2017 Al Horford out there tonight. This is, double double in 25, 26 minutes. He doesn't have to do this every game, but it's nice to know that it's still there. It's nice to know that every now and then he can, remind us that he is, a 4 or 5 time All-Star and can, handle his business around the basket and knock down shots.
I think this was a huge game for Horford because I think, again, I kind of mentioned it. If you want to look at a player or two that maybe have been not playing at the top or what you'd expect, I think Horford, Noah, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Horford would probably fall into one of those categories. So tonight was kind of a nice rebound game for him, I guess.
Yeah, especially after that benching in the second half. Like that must be the first time in so long in his career that that's happened. And it wasn't, it just made sense at the time. But yeah, to see him come back and have a really good game was good to see. There he is.
Bobby's back. You couldn't skip the brownie. All right, Noah, who do you got?
For me, it's going to be Derrick White. I know it's not super underrated, but this was just a huge performance by him. I don't know that they win this game if he doesn't go on that little heater because it was a 5-point game. All the momentum was on Cleveland's side. The place was going crazy, and he just iced it. And it's not just that. He had 2 steals, a block. Like, he's doing it on both ends. But just to see him have that kind of quintessential fourth quarter streak that he's had so many times over the last few years was really good to see. And it makes this team, it goes from being a really good team to the best team. When he's like that, they are the best team. And it really stood out that he was able to get back to that.
Bobby, welcome back.
How could it not be?
Did you say it's Luke?
Another big game of runs with him on the floor. And, Sherrod's right. Horford's
Look what you did, Noah.
Well. It was a good double big night. And, I know John was praising going away from double big last game. This game, you probably needed it with how big Cleveland is in the front line. So shout out to both of them. I guess they can share it. I'll co-sign Sherrod's as well. But Luke's deserving as well.
Noah, we call people like you enablers. You look what you've done. Now you've given Bobby.
What did he have tonight?
You've given Bobby all this confidence that he can just talk about 6
points. Listen, I'll argue with Bobby all day. We'll probably argue in 5 minutes when we record our stand-up. But I just feel like I needed to just
4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal.
Wow.
+10.
Put the statue up, Sherrod. Put the statue up after that monster line.
What was Joe's line, Bobby?
10 rebounds.
What was
Joe said, you guys probably heard it. He's been elite.
Bobby tweeted out one
recently.
quote from Joe's presser.
We did hear it. Yes, we did.
And I asked the question, but
you did ask the question. We heard that too. Yeah. What did Joe actually say? Or if you want to give us the actual.
He said he's been elite press recently. More physical, that sort of thing. And
And what's the stat? What's the plus minus stat?
I have him at plus 109 since New Year's, which was, when I looked, 17th in the league over that stretch, highest on the Celtics.
Wow. So he's the Celtics. He affects winning more than any player in the Celtics based on that stat, is what you're trying to say.
No, but I mean, he's with the second unit. He's your third center. So for him to be
your third center.
For him to be the leader in plus minus does say something to me.
I would agree. All good things. We're not talking bad about Luke tonight, that's for sure. I'm gonna co-sign with Noah. My Brownie Award goes to Derrick White for all the reasons she said. I thought that he was just massive for them in the fourth quarter. And credit, the guys for finding him when he was open. Credit Tatum for, again, passing out of those double teams. Whatever he has to do, he does it. But Derrick White, when Derrick White is confident Derrick White, good things follow. And he's kind of sometimes throughout the year a little bit. It's funny because, and I said this earlier, he seems very even keeled, like off the court, but on the court, you can see the fire that he has when he's feeling the flow, doing the bull dance out there after a couple big threes. You can see that swagger. And tonight you kind of saw that in that fourth quarter, he was getting fired up. And when he's confident, and I think somebody after the game, I think it was Joe, mentioned they have to make sure that they keep his confidence high, because when he's feeling good, the ball finds, the bottom of that basket. So he's my Brownie Award winner. You guys spoke to Derrick White. Is it worth a listen?
It was pretty boring. I mean, no offense to him, but it was pretty non-eventful.
We'll skip it. We'll hold off on it. We'll
synopsis. He was bummed about.
You can catch it on YouTube.
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube. So
Let's
will
just hope.
Bobby and yep.
Yeah, we got a trade deadline special coming Thursday, so be ready for that. We'll be back in Boston, 3:00 Thursday. I don't think it'll be a super eventful one for Boston, but it's getting pretty wacky around the league. I don't know what the hell is going to happen these next couple of days, Durant stuff and whatever else. I don't even want to go there because I really can't understand it right now, but it's going to be wacky these next couple of days, it feels like. It already is, obviously. And then, of course, we got Celtics Mavs on Thursday. Anthony Davis did not rule out playing against the Celtics on Thursday, making his
That would be so
debut.
awesome.
That would be great. Then you got Kyrie coming back too. All right, guys, final thoughts, and then we're out of here. I'll ask you guys.
I think there's going to be a move.
You just took my question
Sorry.
Final thoughts. I'm going to ask you all the same question. Will the Celtics make a trade or a move before the deadline? We'll start with Noah, since she's so eager to answer. Yes.
This is what I was like in class, Jimmy.
Yeah, I can tell, yeah.
So I think something's going to happen. Because this has been a crazy trade deadline already. Tatum and Brown both seem to the way that they are kind of talking about this Luka trade. I think it made everybody feel like something might happen. Tatum today said, expect the unexpected. Jalen, I talked to him before the Philly game, and he said, what is this going to lead to? We know it's going to lead to more things. Everybody's kind of watching over their shoulders a little bit.
Huh.
It's
I
weird,
think
but
they
like
took
when you
Brown
see,
out tonight because he's in trade talks.
no.
Okay. Just
But
making
I
sure.
think like the Darren Fox thing happened. There's the Caleb Martin, Quentin Grimes weird swap
That's
today.
a weird one
But
too.
that was
Yeah.
weird, yeah. But I think something's gonna happen. Like I this whole year has been like, is Jaden Springer gonna get traded or not? And I think it's because he's the guy that's like, he hasn't really contributed much. He's costing them a lot of money. He's gonna be a free agent, but I don't know. I think I needed a little wake up that it could be something bigger. I hope it's not. I really want them to just run it back with this group, but I no longer will be stunned if I get a notification and it's like, I don't know. I don't even want to say anybody's names because I know it's gonna be. No, I'm not doing it. I know. I know you guys too well. I'm not gonna do it.
Because we're gonna clip it.
I
We're
would've
gonna
I know.
clipped that
I'm
so
gonna
fast.
clip it, and people are gonna be sending me death threats again. So I'm not doing it.
It would have been clipped and tweeted before the show even ended.
No, the new message I'm getting is DI. Every time they see a take they disagree with. So I'm just staying. I'm staying out of controversy till the
Okay.
deadline passes.
All right, that's fair. So Noah says a move's going to happen, and she might even insinuate that a big move might happen. Bobby?
No sources, just gut.
No sources. That's just their brain.
I think something will happen. I don't think it's going to be big. I think it's minor. Like, the one I want to see, Yabusele. And I did write that up over on CLNS Media, talked to Horford about him. So go check that out. And I'm hoping it happens. I want to see it. How great we see the other night. You'd love to see it come full circle and help them out here.
He was great in the Olympics too. Sherrod, what you think? Trade or no trade?
No, I think we're going to see lots of blustering, lots of smoke, and then we'll look past the smoke and there'll be nada.
They could go the buyout route. So
and it's not because they're not trying. I just don't think they're going to strike a deal that they feel comfortable with. That
they don't have
willing
much
to
flexibility.
execute. Well, that's part of the problem. I mean, and they're built to. I mean, if we're being honest, they're built for a title run because they're literally running back the guys that they played when they won a title. So I don't think there's a level of urgency that they have to get something done that you'll see with a lot of teams as we get up on the deadline.
I'm gonna stay with Team Sherrod on this. I'll say it's not going to be a big deal. I think that maybe they'll find somebody in the buyout market. And again, no one's coming to save you. This is your team. They showed tonight that even without a good shooting night, they can beat the best that's the NBA has to offer. So I think this is the team they roll with. So that's it for us. For Sherrod, Noah, and Bob. What?
I just said I hope you guys are right.
Okay.
I don't want a big trade.
You don't want a big trade, but you kind of just like.
I just have a feeling.
You kind of put it into the universe, so like now that energy is kind of floating around there, but that's okay.
Oh God,
that's okay. It is what it is.
Energy shift.
We'll shift it back. We'll shift it back. Bobby and Noah are gonna do something cool. We don't know what they'll be filming something after the game, so check out the CLNS YouTube page, and then we have the trade deadline special, I believe, right, Bobby?
Yeah, probably be around 3:00.
Trade deadline special around 3:00. Regardless of a trade, I think if anything happens across the league, I'm sure we'll have somebody on talking about that. And then it's Celtics Mavs. So here we go. Fun times, exciting times to be a Celtics fan and NBA fan. Signing off. Celtics defeat the Cavaliers in Cleveland, 112-105. Sherrod, Noah, Bobby, thanks. Everybody watching at home and listening. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you Thursday. Amit, hit me with the outro, except it's me. I'm going to hit myself with the outro.
One's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you
that.
that.
You know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way. Let's fight out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke